Good evening. I'm Kathleen Moeller, the Economic Development Manager for the city. This evening, the Ukiah Main Street program would like to initiate a public-private partnership for the installation of and ongoing maintenance of shopping, directional, and event signage within the downtown historic core. The purpose of the project is to create more visibility and interest in the downtown area. The proposal from Main Street can be found in attachment number 1. This would be the first of a phased approach. It would be the installation of 5 two-sided freestanding signs at strategic locations throughout the downtown. A map of the various locations are attachment number 3. The signs will indicate certain locations in the downtown that are of interest to people coming to visit the downtown, places such as the library, the courthouse, public parking, the conference center, places of that sort. There would also be a receptacle on the post of the sign where Main Street will provide a more detailed map and some specific information about restaurants and businesses in the downtown. Attachment number 4 is actually the, the names that are going to be used on the signs, the placards themselves. The signs will be fabricated out of metal by a local craftsman. They'll be powder-coated with a black matte finish, and the very top of it will have a decorative arc with the City of Ukiah oak tree logo on it, and it'll also say Historic Downtown. This design has been reviewed by the Design Review Board, and they did make some suggestions about colors and things of that sort. The architectural drawings of the signs can be found as attachment number 2. Each sign can support up to 10 two-sided plaques, and they will also be able to be used for advertising special events such as Comedy Hour, Pumpkin Fest, Sunday in the Parks, and things of that sort. Main Street is requesting that the redevelopment agency enter into a private partnership to help fund and install the sign structures. The cost of each with completed plaques is approximately $3,000. Main Street is requesting the RDA contribute the initial monies to produce the signs, and that this amount would not exceed $15,000. Main Street will be responsible for the ongoing maintenance of the structure and the signage that goes on it. Staff recommends approval of the request to fund the Main Street directional signage program in the amount not to exceed $15,000. This fiscal year 08-09 has budgeted money for this project.
Questions? We knew about the project at budget time, and so that's why we budgeted for it.
Yeah, this project has been 2 years in the making, and so we've actually had it budgeted in there over 2 fiscal year budgets, and it is a separate line item.
Thank you. Further council questions or discussion at this time? Councilmember Landis.
I am curious about how the list of featured destinations was selected.
Joy Beeler, the Executive Director of Main Street, is here this evening, and I would appreciate if Joy could answer that question, please.
Okay.
Joy Beeler, Main Street Program. The committee basically looked at where the signs would be placed and determined what they thought would best be pointed to for someone in that area where they would need, where they'd be wanting to go.
Mm-hmm. So the idea,
not set in stone.
right, the idea though is to promote tourism and more wayfinding in an easier way, and not necessarily to promote our shopping district. Is that correct?
In this first phase, yes, it is basically to introduce visitors and help them to navigate while telling them where, for things to see and do.
Mm-hmm.
The amenities, the
Mhm.
restrooms, the conference center, the post
Mhm.
office, those sorts of things that they might be looking for in this first phase.
So, and the second phase,
In the future, we would hope to be able to point to specific businesses.
using the same kind of structures?
Similar structures that would coordinate
Mm-hmm.
SAGES.
If I could add, I mean, the discussion initially started off in looking at this model in a number of other communities, and if you point just to some of our neighbors, you'll see it, and it points out specific businesses, yet, at least when my experience and some of the experiences we discussed with the other committee members is that you really don't know what that business is on that sign, so it really doesn't make a difference unless you know what the business is. So the option here was to look at landmarks in the area, and then through the map, that Main Street would, that would be ever evolving depending on what businesses are in the downtown. You would be able to pull that map, know where you are because of all the landmarks that have been pointed out, and then identify what businesses you're nearby and where you might be able to go. But it would also be able to provide a description of, the restaurants and of the storefronts, so you know what Shoe Fly is, or what Boutique 120 is, and you'd be able to derive that from the maps themselves. So that was the connection to draw in how, rather than placing the businesses on the actual signage itself, that you would be able to do that on the maps, and people would be able to navigate their way through town or through the downtown to those businesses based upon the landmarks that have been identified.
I guess my thought about it is, I think it's good for people to be able to find all the public buildings, that's important, and restrooms, but I think if we want to promote tourism, utilizing our community in a really positive way, we want them to be able to find Okotime and Tierra, and places that, when you walk downtown, if you don't know they're there, you might not find them. And so I'm not sure that, in my opinion, it really addresses the best way with which to, to capitalize on the great things we have in our downtown. I think it does make it clearer about the functional buildings and, some, like the listing is one sign that points to shopping.
Right. Well, so the map that would be located on each one of these directional signages would be the information that would contain everything about the shopping locations. I mean, a sign on we only have 9 spaces, so you're not going to be able, who chooses what businesses actually get placed on there. You lead into a number of other things, and then some businesses may close, or what if there's vandalism to that one business's sign, who pays for it? There's a lot of other things that get brought into the picture if you just do businesses only. So the idea to try to be all-inclusive is to have, on each of these signs, as you walk by, you'd be able to pull a map that contains all of the business information. We're going to be able to put a lot more information on those maps and be able to update them much faster than you would an actual directional signage, and you won't be alienated any one business from it. So, a sign that just says Okotime, that doesn't describe what it is. It could be a restaurant, it could be a retail location, and for a tourist in our area, unless you actually know what Okotime is, because you've been there, you won't know. But if you
Be a
pull
yoga class?
but if you pull the map, it would be listed under a directory of restaurants, and it would be able to describe in more detail what services are provided at that location. So it was something that the committee, I think, really we struggled through. And initially, the concept was just businesses, but then, what businesses do you select on that block to be included?
Well, I think the businesses could contribute to the project. I mean, I know they pay